I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Connecticut, the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Representative Jim Himes.
I thank the ranking member and thank you, Mr. Speaker. Here we are again debating something which is not debatable because it's in the Constitution that every single one of us pledges to uphold. You can read it. It says that the Congress authorizes military action. It doesn't matter how good or bad or evil or close to a nuclear weapon a foe is. What matters is that the Constitution says we debate and approve military action. Today, of course, we are well beyond the 60 days of the start of this hostility. So not only is this action unconstitutional, completely unapproved by the Congress, it is now illegal because the War Powers Act requires the troops be withdrawn absent the approval of Congress after 60 days. The chairman says over and over and over again, the Democrats said that it's an evil regime. Yes, we can all agree that it's an evil regime. But the chairman knows that the world is full of evil regimes. It doesn't therefore follow that you declare war and go to war and raise Americans' gas prices by $1.50 a gallon and spit in the face of the Constitution just because we all stipulate that the Iranian regime is evil. So let's just take a quick tour backwards here. We've had no explanation for this war beyond the fact that we all understand that the regime in Iran is evil. The president himself told us that the nuclear program was obliterated 9 months ago, and Iran, as awful and as dangerous as they were, which again isn't a license to go to war, was perhaps in the weakest position it had been in a generation due to the war of 9 months ago. So the notion of imminence is absurd. You're hearing that from the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee. So where we find ourselves now is gasoline prices up $1.50. Food prices rising. The inflation print of last week was pretty terrifying. And my friends in the majority know how utterly politically toxic this war is, but they will not do their constitutional duty because they saw what we all saw, which is that this president decides who amongst Republican members of the House and the Senate get to survive. The senator from Louisiana crosses the president. He's gone. The gentleman from Kentucky crosses the president and he's gone. As a political matter, it's fascinating to me that any president has that kind of chokehold over his party. But that is not a reason to spit in the face of the Constitution. Lose your job for what you pledge to uphold and defend. No career is worth abnegating a pledge you took to the Constitution of the United States, especially when it is creating massive economic hardship for the people that we represent. Do you think this is ending quickly? It's not. The Iranians are now in the strategic position to decide when this is over because they know the pain that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz is causing. So the only responsible action, the only legal action, the only constitutional action is to debate this war and to stop it in the meantime. I urge the support of this resolution and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from New York reserves. Gentleman from Florida is recognized.
I see the ranking member of Intelligence running off. I don't think he wants to stay and answer questions. Good, please stay. So number one, imminence matters. My colleague, this being one of them, voted last week to say, let me read it again here, Iran wants to attack the United States, our allies, with ballistic missiles, terror proxies, and if obtained with a nuclear weapon. That to me is the definition of imminence. See him running off. I guess he doesn't want to explain whether that's a vote to say they're an imminent threat. Happy to yield him a couple seconds. I'll give you 30 seconds. Go ahead.
I thank the chairman. He can say it over and over and over again that we agree that the Iranian regime is evil. It therefore does not follow that we must attack them.
Did I say evil? I agree they're evil, but I didn't say that. Let's not twist the words.
Simply because a regime is evil does not authorize a war against it. The chairman knows that.
I'm going to yield some more time because I think he's going to run. I didn't say evil. You're still saying things I didn't say. I read what you voted for last week. Iran wants to attack the United States. Wants to attack. That means imminent. And our allies with ballistic missiles, terror proxies, and if obtained with a nuclear weapon.
If the gentleman will yield.
I'll give you a moment, time in just 1 second. Voted previously to say use any and all means necessary to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. We could go on and on about these things.
Does the gentleman,
are they an imminent threat?
If the gentleman will yield, does the gentleman believe that the Iranian regime is the only regime on the planet that would like to attack the United States of America?
They're certainly not.
They are certainly not. So does the gentleman therefore believe that we should take military action at all the other regimes that would like to attack America?
You know, what I would give you is this, to present again imminence of them. I just gave you some examples, but we'll say just before this began in February, they attacked a U.S. flagged tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. Just before that, they attacked IRGC, I'm talking about when I say they attacked another oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. Just before that, I'm in December now, attacked another one. Just before that, IRGC attacked one in the Marshall Islands. Just before that, IRGC attacked MSC ship and raided with a helicopter in the Strait of Hormuz. I have pages and pages of these. It's the definition of imminent. As you know, before that, they killed 3 Americans at Tower 22 in Jordan. It's imminent.
Sir, the definition of imminent, and you can look it up, is that they are about to attack us. And I can tell you, as the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee who did not leave, that they were not about to attack us. So you can make up a different definition for imminent, but that does not make it correct.
They attacked us literally just before our operations began. I gave you one example. And, you know, to me, being a service member, if I see a foxhole, and 1 or 2 enemies in that foxhole with the barrel of a 50 cal pointed at me, just because they don't have 2 fingers on the trigger playing with that trigger doesn't mean that it's not an imminent threat. If they're aiming it at me, it's an imminent threat, and they're aiming it at us.
Well, if I could point out to the chairman, and I respect his military service, if he were in fact in a foxhole facing a 50 caliber machine gun, at least for the last 100 years, he almost certainly would have been in that position pursuant to an authorization for the use of military force by this body.
Thankfully, we've had a ceasefire since, I want to say the date was April 7, April 8. We are not in hostilities. We are out there with almost the exact same number of forces that we continually keep in the region. And so it brings me to another question I'd love to ask you as ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, because the bill literally says calls for the removal of U.S. forces from the region other than those that may be necessary to defend the United States or an ally or partner from an imminent attack. End quote. That's what the bill says that you're voting on today. Probably you will vote for. So I would love to know which military assets would you like to remove?
Well, I think what we should do is pause our military activities while we exercise the constitutional and just the smart act of debating a war which has now affected every single... Look, if this body chooses to maintain the military action, I'll respect the body.
I'm going to regain my time, and I will reserve at this point.
Gentleman from Florida reserves.